Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of Cheaper Than Therapy show. My name is Roland Carson. I am your host, aka Ro Nice. Um, I want to thank everyone that has supported and watched and subscribed and liked and shared and comments. We are back for another week to talk this stuff, the event about what's going on. My co-host is still out. Prayers for him and his family. They are going through some things. He will be back soon. Like I said, we touch base all the time, so I know he'll be back soon. Um, so today again, like I always tell you, I'm not gonna keep you long. I just got a couple of things on my mental that I want to get off my chest to talk about. So I'm gonna rant a little bit about multiple things today. Um, the first thing I'm gonna have a little rant about is sports. I know a couple of weeks ago I did an episode on Caitlin Clark, and she is now in the WNBA, and it's not going so well. Um, Now I know, just like when you transition from anything in high school or college to a professional level, things may not go the way you like, or you may go through what we all call your learning curve. But my biggest thing was not about her talent on the court. I mean, that's undeniable. She was a great player. I watched her play, but my biggest gripe was how she was being marketed as far as the best thing since sliced bread when it comes to women college basketball. And Miss Clark did not win any national championships. She won some games. She scored some points at Iowa, but she didn't win anything. So, and the marketing behind her, on ESPN and the commercial was, "We are witnessing greatness," and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, I'm not a biased USC Gamecocks women's fan, but I did watch them. But I mean, Cardoza, Boston, they had much better players in my opinion, and the ESPN didn't want to market them. Several, sports franchise didn't want to market them. They didn't really take the opportunity to market, the best players coming out of women's college basketball and make them the focal point of the WNBA. Now, going and Dawn Staley went undefeated, won a national championship. That's what I call witnessing greatness, regardless of the color of skin. She was great, but now Caitlin Clark is in the WNBA and having her struggles because they hyped her so much that she got a big target on her back. So they garner her like she's the MJ of the women's the WNBA, and she's feeling that pressure. Not saying she's not going to overcome it. Who knows what that may be? But like I said, there were other players of I'm be honest, of a different color that I felt were better, and that could have used that marketing and that push behind them to get their name, their likeness out and promote their brand just as well as Kate Clark. But nonetheless, that's something I wanted to rant a little bit about on that. And when it comes to sports, as well as congratulations to the Dallas Mavericks. They are on to the Western Conference Finals. Waiting on the winner of Denver and Minnesota today. That's the other thing, I wanted to rant about, when it comes down to that Denver-Minnesota series. Jamal Murray should have been suspended for throwing things on the court that almost injured players. Now, you get suspended for throwing things into the fans, at fans, but you don't get suspended for throwing things on the court at other players. And it did come out that Adam Silver got pressure put on him by the networks not to suspend Jamal Murray. for game 3 of that semifinal series. Now at this time, Minnesota's already up 2-0 and beat Denver twice in Denver and kind of mopped the floor with them. So you don't suspend a player for throwing things onto the court for game 3. That could definitely change the series. So Denver winds up winning games 3 and 4. And if I'm not correct, and game 5, because a game 7 is tonight. So they win games 3, 4, and 5. Minnesota mops the floor with them in game 7, winning by 45 points. So now here we are on to game 7 tonight to see who plays Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. But like I said, it did get put out that the league, the networks put pressure on Adam Silver not to suspend Jamal Murray for game 3. So it starts to make you question and wonder how much, what's the design here? Jokic, is great of a player as he is, do I believe he deserves to be a 3-time back-to-back MVP? No. We have to be honest with ourselves about a lot of things when it comes to sports. And Jokic being a 3-time back-to-back MVP winner is not one of them. But again, that's my little rant on one of my more rants on sports that I notice is happening. And nonetheless, that's just my little thing on my little sports update. I don't watch too much baseball. I ain't watching no hockey, and so forth. Getting ready to I want to watch this Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight on Netflix. I sat down and watched the roast of Tom Brady on Netflix. That was hilariously funny. No holds barred on the jokes. They kind of, even I was surprised at how hard they went on some of the jokes, but it was funny nonetheless. So moving on, we're not talk sports anymore. My next rant or how I'm feeling about something is, what do we? I guess I want to put this question out there. I won't want to say a rant. Well, yeah. With this Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Rick Ross beef, I'm not, like I said, I'm not listening to a lot of the diss tracks. I've heard some. I just find it convenient that all this is happening a few weeks prior to the BET Awards. I find all this is happening in an election year. All this is happening while going around the things going on with Puff Daddy. All these things is it really beefs or the distractions? Because now you got the game jumping into it, dissing Rick Ross. I mean, it's just everybody's jumping in, but we're not paying attention to the real thing that's going on here. We are 6 months from a presidential election, and we weren't about rap beefs. You see it on social media, on BET, on the news, and all in the African American podcast, and that's all we're talking about. And granted, it's a part of the culture, and not saying we shouldn't touch on these things because rap battles and rap beefs go as far back as hip hop itself and rap itself. But at some point in time, we have to come to the realization that when they hit mainstream media to keep us all focused on what's really happening in this country, we got, like I said, presidential election. We got billions of taxpayer dollars going into, relief for foreigners that people in this country could definitely well benefit from and need help. I mean, all that stuff is going on, but we are worried about Kendrick Lamar and Drake. And like I said, for entertainment purposes, we that's fine. But that's once all the business of life is taken care of, we can focus on that minuscule stuff that, like I said, is not that important, but it's a part of our culture nonetheless. Um, next, and but I'm like, I want to know, do you guys think it's a distraction? Like I said, the BET Awards are coming up. These guys are in the process of putting out albums. Is it for streams? Is it for money? And there's nothing wrong with them making money, but you know, rap beef used to be legitimate. It used to be, I didn't like you because I didn't like you. I got these bars to spit on you on my album because I can't stand you. You know, not just for the point of getting some dollars and some watches and some views. But we are in that time period where everything is going on. Nobody's really talking about the potential U.S. ban on TikTok while all this going on, because again, like I said when I did the episode about the ban on TikTok, it's not about TikTok, it's not about social media, it's about the possible attack on freedom of speech. And if we're not paying attention, that can happen. You know, TikTok is just one vehicle or avenue or one platform that we exercise our freedom of speech and just the freedom that we are as people to do things, make video content, whatever. But to be censored and attacked and have your page canceled or taken down because you may say something that um, the people, so to speak, if you know what I mean, I don't mean the people, I mean the powers that be that may disagree with, you can have your channel taken away or you could be censored. So, again, that's why I'm very selective with my words on what I say on my podcast, because I know I don't own these platforms. None of us own these platforms. They got to answer to whoever they got to answer to. So you got to watch what you say and how you say it. But there's a way of saying things and getting your point across without necessarily being so direct as to offend anybody or get yourself on that type of radar. Um, so again, with these rap beefs, let's not turn a blind eye to what's going on around us in this world while we're focusing on those things that are there for entertainment value. Um, Lastly, my rant is, this one probably the thing that's going to take the longest and I'll probably talk about more in depth. As we get into this world, as we get older, um, and we want, as people, we're looking for companionship. What do we really want? As our relationships, the question I guess I'm getting to, are relationships about love or about control? Um, when you are asked, I guess, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling on myself, just trying to get my brain and my mouth to filter and get these words out. So when you're trying to, I guess, get involved with someone of the opposite sex and for long-term purposes, and you get into a relationship, commitment, marriage, vis-a-vis whatever you deem that to be, are we doing it for love or for control over the other person? And that's something we have to ask ourselves as we get into these things, because what do we really want? You know, if you watch reels and social media and podcasts these days, it's women saying they want um, a man with a lot of money. They want, you know, certain things on the physical nature. They got certain height, weight. this type of requirement, and some men have the same thing, but I mean, speaking from a man's perspective, and from what I've seen, our requirements are a little bit more lax than women's. We could say that. That's just my opinion. I'm not speaking for all men. I definitely can't speak for women in general. And hopefully, this is a topic I'll revisit once we have that female presence on the podcast. But I just want, this is just me speaking from my perspective. What are we dating for? What do we want? We want love or control. Now, me personally, I prefer balance of uh, it's a little bit of both for me. It's a balance of love and control because you know being the head of a household as the man, as what society dictates, that's what it should be, and that's the way we should be. Um, it does require to have somewhat control over the other person that you're with, which, and people have to not take that word control as such a degrading or negative word, because we have that's a two-way street, because men have to give certain control to the woman, and women have to give certain control to the men. But it seems like these days, sometimes men want to control everything. You can't control everything, because that what comes down to gender role. There's certain things that women gotta be in charge of that we just can't do, and vice versa. And it's not about being misogynist or chauvinist, or it's just nature is what nature is. So, you know, when we talk finances, so it seems to be that's the biggest thing these days, the 50-50 conversation, who should pay majority of the bills and whatever. Now, this is again my opinion. I'm gonna stress this. This is my opinion and what I believe, and I want you guys to chime in, whether it be comments, text. My opinion is the man should pay the large bills, mortgage, rent, i.e., things of that nature. That's just my opinion. Now, people like, well, it needs to be 50-50. I mean, in some household that work. And reason why it can work either way, but just me, the larger bills should definitely be on the man. That's just my standpoint, because when you do take that responsibility of the larger bills, that frees up the woman to take care of the smaller bills and take care of the things that the household needs in general. You know, this ain't about one could do it better than the other. This is about creating that even flow. So, we as men, we we're not gonna do a ton of grocery shopping, and not saying we can't. As a single man, I go grocery shopping. I mean, not saying we can't, but we're not gonna do it when we're in a household that has both parties. We're not gonna do a lot of the fluff in the house, and what I mean by fluff is the decorating and blah blah blah. I mean, we just not gonna do that. When in every place I live in, for the most part, I got my bed, I got my TV, and I got the bathroom. All them pictures on the walls, all that other stuff. That's that woman's touch that's needed. So when women generally, if you're paying a large part of bills, women gonna take that part of their money and make the house a home. So now, not saying a 50-50 household can't function, but you got to have that kind of conversation with your partner from the jump if a 50-50 household can work. Because it's not about one person being more in control than the other. It's about financial stability for your house and your family. Because let's say you make $80,000 a year, your significant other makes $80,000 a year. Now you got two dynamics in that. You can go 50-50 route, which frees up a lot of discretionary income for the family to do things like travel, family trips, go shopping, just save money, invest, do whatever you want to do in those situations. Um, and it does work the other way as well, where the man pays the majority of bills. You just gotta make sure your significant other knows, okay, if I'm gonna pay the majority of the large bills, you know, your extra income, your income, let's use that for family trips. Let's use that for investments. Let's help create a comfortable lifestyle for us and the kids, whatever, etc. You're living in, whatever situation you're living in. The thing I don't agree with is where is that if the man pays everything and she just takes her money and spends it on spa days and whatever, and not really focus on contributing back to the household. Now I know that sometimes some people's lives work that way and it functions well for them, and but in a realistic world, and in this economy with inflation, with the cost of things, dual income households are needed. Now, everybody ain't millionaires and billionaires. Hence, that's why there is what they call the quote unquote 1%, because everybody's not rich. So therefore, the system is not designed for everyone to be rich, because if everyone was rich, there would be no working class to provide your goods and services to a certain extent. So the system is never going to be designed for it to be that way. Now, should everyone in all classes feel like they have a comfortable life? Sure, but everybody's not going to be billionaires, because I feel like it's unrealistic and it's not going to happen. You got to have your people that are your working class citizens, and not saying they're broke or poor. It's just your working class citizens. It's just a part of the way things function. Now, yes, would we all love to see that gap decrease between the super duper rich and the poor? Would that gap? Would we love to see that gap decrease between the haves and the have-nots? Sure. And whether people want to believe it or not, that gap can decrease if you and your significant other work together and not work against each other. That's where the 50-50 household, or the household where the husband pays the majority of the bills, large bills, and the woman does the other things with her money, as far as investing, helping grow businesses, whatever it may be going on. But that's how you shrink that gap between the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor. Because if we all are chasing if everyone in the household, the money winners or the breadwinners or the working people in the household, all chasing the material things, you're gonna find out how quickly you're gonna keep that gap open, and it's gonna keep spreading even wider than what it already is. So when I see these reels and these podcasts with these women like, well, I want my man to pay everything and I don't want to work, and that's not impossible. And I'm not saying it's not possible, and I'm not saying it's not even feasible, but it's not everybody's situation. And I'm like, if you want to have it that way and you want to stay home and raise the kids and be a housewife, That's cool. That's fair enough. But give something to it. Find a way to say, if I'm gonna work from home and be a stay-at-home mom, you know, do the entrepreneurial thing. Work from home. Start your own business. Find some way to generate revenue there for that to come into the house. Because one thing I always learn, if you got more money going out than coming in, you're gonna find yourself in a bit of trouble. It may take time, um, but it's generally gonna happen when you find yourself having more going out than coming in. So, not saying you gotta do, my wife or whatever needs to go punch a clock or 9 to 5 or have a hard job. I don't care what you do. Just do something to bring in, so that way we can have more. Now, people say, well, you're a man, do more. And yeah, we as men, we can work 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jobs, have multiple side hustles. That's all fair and well, and that sounds good, and that's great. But the whole goal at the end of the day is, especially if you have a wife, significant other, and you got kids, it's about family. If I'm at work 16 to 20 hours of a 24-hour day, 7 days a week, guess what's lacking? My family time, my presence in my kids' life, my personal time with my wife, my spouse, my girl, whatever. That's suffering because you tell me I gotta go work 8 jobs 7 days a week so you don't have to do anything. And people do that. I've never said I haven't seen it happen, but there's a lot of consequences that do come along with that. Generally the man works too much. He feels unappreciated. He can work himself to death. He's never around, so the wife starts to get lonely. She starts to step outside. If he feels underappreciated, he may step outside of the marriage. It's a lot of things that come along that. So that's why I said my thing in the beginning about it being about balance. You got to balance that out between, if you're gonna be that stay-at-home mom, and we're talking from a real income, and whether it's control or a bond or connectivity or a balance that you decided to work within your 4 walls, your home. You got to really work on that, because it could work either way. Make no mistake, but that's a conversation you and your significant other need to have, and set it up in a way and such that you don't hurt your family. You don't make it hard for you guys to have anything or to do anything. Because, I know people had, in the 50s and 60s, before that big push and for women to work and equality, women stayed at home and men took care of the bills. But again, as me, a realtor, I posted this funny thing on my Facebook feed multiple times, and it was about some house prices. I think it was in the 40s or 50s, but it was like a 3-bedroom house, 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with a porch. In that time frame was $7,500, like a 1,500 square foot house with 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, screen-in back porch was $7,500. So let's think about that when we're talking about, the cost of things. $7,500. You can't even get a shed to park your lawnmower and keep your gardening tools in for barely $7,500 in 2024. So we have to think on where inflation has taken us and society and the economy has taken us, um, to where two dual income households are needed, and not saying your wife or your significant other gotta match you dollar for dollar. If I make 80 and you make 40, okay. That's in certain parts, in certain cities, certain states, $120,000, $150,000 combined income. You can live a pretty comfortable life. Now, whether you strive to have more, that's a choice you got to make within your family dynamic. But in certain states that it's not enough, certain cities it's not enough. But again, that's the choice you make within your family dynamic to get to where what you deem as a comfortable level. So as these the conversation of 50-50, man paying all the bills, and women saying that, hey, if I gotta go 50-50 with a man, I'd rather do it by myself. And you have to think of the logic of that. So saying that if you gotta pay half the bills, you rather pay 100% by yourself. Does that? I mean, sometimes like I think because we think of the word control and whatever, and and how absurd does that sound when you're saying I'd rather pay 100% of my bills to split it with my partner so we can have more discretionary income to invest to help grow our wealth and help close that generational wealth gap, to allow us to do more things as a family. So I'm not as, and like I said, this is not to offend anybody. So women can't say, well, I want to spend my money on my hair and my nails and clothes and purses and bags. Not saying men don't spend money on frivolous things, because we do. I know myself. I spend money frivolously on sneakers, but at the same time, if I sat here and told you, I wouldn't lie and tell you that, sure, if I have met someone that came in and say, well, I got this half, you just pay the mortgage and the rent, I got everything else, and we gonna build on whatever, it'd be two thumbs up. I'd be the happiest man since they invented sliced bread. So be it. So we have to get out of our own way of thinking that 50-50 dynamic is this demonic and non purposeful thing, because it can help. Like I said, both ways can work. The 50-50 method or the man paying the majority of the large bills method can work. Both of those can work. I've seen both work, from friends to family. It's just a conversation needs to be had of if that, however you guys decide to manage your household finances. Now, and under normal circumstances, it would be great for me to make two, three, $400,000 a year. You get to stay at home with the kids, and so be it, so be it. But we have to know that that's we are products of our environment. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. You got to have 18 hustles to make 400 grand a year in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm from Hemingway, South Carolina, which you might got to have 200 hustles to make 400 grand a year, especially if you're trying to get it legally. So we have to think about that when we're talking about, oh, well, I don't want my spouse, significant other, doesn't want to work. She want to be a stay-at-home mom. Not saying it's not plausible, but again, in 1940s, 50s, and 60s, it was easier because everything was cheaper. Knowing that back then, our parents and our grandparents and great-grandparents, they had 10, 11, 12, 14, 15 kids. My father's mother and father had 16 kids. 16 kids. Imagine trying to raise 16 kids today. 16. With the cost of clothes, food, whatever. Try to imagine take 16 kids on a family vacation. So we have to think a little bit more based on the time we in, even though even someone at my age, we gotta think more at the time we in. And I know we're in the time of women empowerment, women getting good jobs, making their own money, and that is totally cool. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But don't set yourself up to be by yourself or not enjoy, companionship because you feel like I don't want to go half with a man or I don't want to do whatever, I guess. You don't want to give up that semblance of independence or certain levels of control or submissiveness because, again, we have to submit to each other on different levels. Men submit to women to a certain extent and vice versa. So that word submissiveness, that word give up control, we got to stop looking at them as negative and toxic words because done properly and with the right type of communication, those words can make us flourish as individuals, as couples, and like I said, the whole goal is to decrease that wealth gap between the haves and the have-nots. That's why we got to focus on the black families. We got to focus on building black wealth. Again, that's why I'm telling you when I ask you to support businesses, send me your businesses. I want to spread those out because those business owners got family. They got wives. They got kids. They trying to do things. And it's all about growth. So that's just my rant for this Sunday. I'm going to go sit down and watch. I think the Knicks right now getting spanked by the Pacers. I'm checking the score. Yep. The Pacers up 92-74 at this juncture right now. And I really want to watch the second game, which is Denver and Minnesota, because I'm very interested in Anthony Edwards and his talent is starting to emerge. So I want you guys to comment on this one, please. I want you guys to subscribe. This is what I'm talking about, supporting. Subscribe, like, comment, share. It costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe to my page. It costs you absolutely nothing to like. It costs you absolutely nothing to comment. It is free. It might just take a few seconds out of your day, which you have, while you're watching. Just hit the subscribe button while you're watching. Comment while you're watching. Like I said, I would like to go live one day so that way everything will be a fresh interaction. But again, I want Memorial Day's coming up. I've been asked, am I going to Bike Week? Man, it sounds nice, but I think I've officially retired from that Bike Week thing. That's not what I'm on anymore. About to turn 46 in a couple of months. My intentions for Bike Week when I was younger were totally different. So I know I might just stay home or work, whatever that may be. Focus on my real estate stuff. Focus on growing this podcast, doing what I need to do for myself. Father's Day be coming up. Just everybody enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends. Try to treat everyone the way you want to be treated. And take care of each other and try not to hate on each other because there's no reason for us to hate each other in this world. We should all be able to strive to work for each other and work and help each other. And it takes a village. So again, Guys, the email is cheaperthantherapyshow@gmail.com. The phone number is 803-509-3477. Sorry, getting tongue tied. Send over your business information so I can shout you guys out. Comment. Send over your suggestions, comments, emotional feelings, whatever. And you guys be safe out there and enjoy your Sunday.